Shall we play a game?
Why, yes. I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Getting geeky at SpaCon near the booth for Arkansas Extra Life in Hot Springs. It's Shane Plays Geek Talk. Normally we're out of Little Rock, but hanging out today at SpaCon in the resort city of Hot Springs, Arkansas, watching all the people walk by having a good time. Shane Plays Geek Talk is not officially associated with Arkansas Extra Life or Children's Miracle Hospital Network or Arkansas Children's Hospital, but we certainly endorse them and have a friendly relationship with them, and they were kind enough to let me hang out and steal some electricity to run the show. We'll talk about that more here in a second, but if you're listening live on September 21st at 1 p.m. Central, and you're in the Arkansas area, Central Arkansas, Little Rock, Hot Springs, SpaCon will be going on all day today and tomorrow. Get on out here and check it out, and if you do, swing by and check out the Arkansas Extra Life booth. It's Extra Life is a great charity in general. It raises money through games to help Children's Miracle Network hospitals, so it's pretty hard to beat that. Another thing, just real quick, I am your host, Shane Stacks. This is Shane Plays Geek Talk. I'm joined, longtime listeners will know, friend of the show, Richard McBain. Richard, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk.
Thanks for having me, as always.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We were both here. I was like, hey, why don't you jump on the show?
Yeah,
And you said, heck yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's probably no big secret that your wife helps run the Arkansas Extra Life Rhonda. So
absolutely.
You're part of the electricity I'm stealing. Thank you very much.
Hey, we're more than happy to lend it to you, sir.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Cool. And returning, this is part 2. A few weeks ago we had I've never done this before. I've never done a part 2, but there was so many interesting things to talk about with this guest that we only got through about half of it. So we're going to have to do a part 2, and we tried to do the following weekend, but life got in the way and life slapped us around. But here we are. Rejoining the show is the Flava Flav of 5E, ACAM, a.k.a. Alex Kammer, who does so much stuff. He didn't just climb Mount Everest, he invented Mount Everest. Alex, welcome back to Shane Plays.
Thanks. It turned into a Chuck Norris ad there. That was pretty cool.
When you bench press, Chuck Norris trembles. So, no, all joking aside, Alex is a fascinating guy. He's the previous show that we did a few weeks ago, he is a world-class RPG collector and also memorabilia and materials of TSR and that sort of thing. And he also is one of the founders and runners, if you will, of Gamehole Con, which is coming up here in a little bit. If that's not enough, he has a pub, and above that pub he has a incredibly cool game room with like historical D&D and RPG artifacts that anybody who makes it to his neck of the woods in Wisconsin, he's happy to show it to. And he's a lawyer, and he just, it's ridiculous, but ridiculous in a good way. And today we're talking, the subjects we didn't get to is that Alex is one of the principals in the True Dungeon, which I'm very interested in learning more about. And Richard has actually seen from afar True Dungeon, but has never been able to check it out yet. It's very interested in it. And then also Alex does some RPG design. So, he doesn't do much. So with all that free time, he had just plenty of time to come on the show today. So, Alex, before we forget, why don't you give us an update on Gamehole Con, is when it is, when your guests or who your guests are, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate that. First of all, it's so cool that you guys are associated with Extra Life. That is the essential piece of our show. In fact, Gamehole Con is the #1 producer of funds in the state of Wisconsin for Extra Life. We do a lot with them, and we work closely with Wizards of the Coast, for our Extra Life efforts at Gamehole Con. Gamehole Con this year is October 31st, Halloween, through November 3rd. So I just was having a conversation with my kid about how awesome our trick or treat's going to be and all that kind of stuff at Gamehole Con this year. We got a big free trick or treat that we're doing. So from 4 to 6, local families come to the show for free, park for free, and trick or treat our dealer hall, Chew Dungeon, our free games library, the Adventure League hall, all kinds of stuff. It'll be like 75 different stops. They get this cool map, and they can go trick or treat and have the most theatrical and over-the-top Halloween experience they'll ever will have had, because it's just going to be it's going to be crazy. So I'm really looking forward to that. My kids are beyond excited. So, but pre-registration closes here October 1st, so we're having this massive badge rush now. People trying to get on a wire to get. It's a few dollars cheaper to get a badge in pre-registration. Then you get a cool big plastic badge, very elaborate with your name on it and nickname or whatever else you want cool on it. So getting a pre-registered badge is pretty cool. And anyway, so everything's coming fast now. We're really
great
ramping up on getting, I'm going through my list like, geez, did I remember to order lanyards, that kind of stuff.
Right. So you're about 5 weeks, a little over 5 weeks out.
Yeah. So errors are still fixable at this point.
Yeah.
So we're working through it, and we have the reputation of having a very well-run show, and that's very important to me. So I'm obsessive with it when it comes to details for the show, and I guess that's why it works. And so anyway, we're getting there. So thank you. And as far as guests go, we just take the attitude about it that we want to put on the best tabletop gaming convention in the country, and we don't care. We're not trying to make money, so that gives us a real advantage. So we're very when it comes to our a number of guests and the breadth of our guests. So we try to put together the best panel of special guests in the industry every year. And I don't know. I'm sure there are other cons out there that argue that they have a better guest list, and that's great. And I hope and they should strive.
I don't know, man. Yours is pretty strong. That's especially considering that. What do you average, about 5,000 in attendance?
We've been growing. So we started in 2013, so we're on the cusp of 7th show, and we've grown by about 40% every year. So this year, if we stay at the same level, we will be about 5,000 this year. We're not trying to be a mega show. It just keeps growing.
Yeah. Well, the main reason I point that out is 5,000 is a very, very, very healthy con, but it still has moments that you can be somewhat intimate and really get to mix with the guests. So with the guest list you have, I know you got like Stephen McCorney, you got Mike Merles, you've got the several other people we're looking at. I mean, the chances of actually maybe playing in a game with them or actually chatting are pretty high. And I know you said last show that
that's very important to us.
Yeah. And you said last show that you tell the guests they're not allowed to hide in the hotel room all weekend. They've got to get
That's right.
They got to get out and mix. So that's great. So you're actually having, like a lot of churches, including my church, will have a trunk or treat, but you're having a dice or treat event. So that is great.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that is great. So, all right. Well, folks, definitely check out Gamehole Con. It is no, we got an announcement going. I don't know how loud that's picking up back there. Zach, how loud is that announcement in the background? Good old live radio.
Are you fine?
Okay, good. One thing I want to point out that Alex did not toot his own horn here. Not only does they do a lot of stuff with Extra Life and all that, but if I remember right, is your con the only official con partner with Wizards of the Coast? Is that correct?
Well, that's more or less. Okay. So the Wizards does support shows like Origins. Well, not as much anymore. Actually, that's actually not true. They used to, but we'll see if they come back. They're peripherally associated with Gen Con, but not officially, through Baldwin Games, who runs their Adventure League halls at different places. So, for example, if you go to Origins, my friend Dave Christ, who owns and runs Baldwin Games, if you want to play D&D Adventure League, that's where you play.
Okay.
And so they support him to varying degrees. As far as which show does Chris Perkins go to? He comes to Gamehole Con. Which show does Mike Merles come to? He comes to Gamehole Con. We have, and all those folks, Jeremy Crawford, all the staff come to our show and in force. And the reason, quite frankly, is they have a lot of fun there.
Well, I wonder if we could. I think what we should do, you know how like you remember the old fat sumo suit thing where you get people in fat sumo suits and they wrestle? I wonder if we can get like Chris Perkins and Mike Merles and Jeremy, if we can encase them in huge D20s and roll them against each other as a fundraiser and raise money for Extra Life. That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I don't know. And they just bounce off each other, and if they roll a natural 20, they'll double all the fundraising.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. So, I mean, I would not be...
What's the other thing that's cool is that we have friends that stop by that, we don't bill as official guests like Matt Mercer, Pat Rothfuss, folks like that, because it's fun. And that's what's... I'm really proud of that our show has become known as such a fun place to be, well run, fun, high energy, all that kind of stuff. So it's it's been one of those, a big part of our show and a big reason of our rapid growth, I think, is the presence of True Dungeon, which is a massive immersive event that used to be only at Gen Con, the biggest tabletop gaming convention, annual one in Indianapolis, which I've gone to every year for years. It's just so massive. It's such a zoo. I'm sure a lot of your listeners have been. It's just crazy. It's hard even to see the whole show. Gamehole Con's not like that. We're a fraction of that size. But we have all the same experiences, quite frankly, just at a truncated version. However, that's not Dungeon. Our True Dungeon footprint is about twice as big as it is at Gen Con in terms of square footage. So
if you want,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. That's all right. But to give you a perspective, this True Dungeon sits in a 25,000 square foot hall. It's a big space, and it's set up. If you go to if you're curious, just pop online and just Google True Dungeon. There's some wonderful videos. I am stunned by the attention to detail and the quality of the immersive experience. It feels like you're in a dungeon as you wind through this 2-hour experience, and we can talk about what that experience entails.
Well, I heard.
If you're interested.
Yeah, we definitely will. I want to save that for after the break to get into what really, like, the fact is it's like really being in a dungeon, but we'll save till after the break. We'll tease that a little bit to what people can actually expect. But I heard it's so amazing and authentic that when your ghost use horrifying visage on people, they actually age. That's what I've heard. Yeah, it's that amazing. So
there have been times that it scared the hell out of me, quite frankly. Something happened. I did one with my daughter, and at the time she was too young, and she was really young, and what was a roper exposed itself and was laughing at me. I'm like, oh my god, she freaked out, man. It was scary.
So by exposed itself, it means revealed itself.
Not
revealed
the other.
itself. Yeah, it didn't lift its roper gown. Yeah, no.
Oh boy.
Oh man. Oh yeah, live radio, baby. So anyway, yeah, we'll definitely talk after the break. I really want to give people a really exciting idea of what they can expect at True Dungeon. And it's literally what it sounds like. It's probably the closest thing you'll ever come to in life, and to actually being in a dungeon and getting into awkward situations with ropers. But before then, I want to talk a little bit. I want to give you a chance to highlight. And folks, we will come back to True Dungeon. It's a super fascinating subject. But Alex is also has done some RPG design work. So I wanted to, if you wanted to take a few minutes and look at some of your modules and stuff you've done here. And really I want to do this from the perspective of, I know there's a lot of people out there, including me, frankly, who would love to take a shot at running a module or designing one and getting it published or whatever. And I just wanted to give you the opportunity to kind of let people know the work you've done and like any advice you might have on, because with Drive-Thru RPG and other ways, getting your work out there in a lot of ways is easier now than it's ever been. That doesn't mean you can just throw crap out there and expect it to sell, but it's pretty exciting. So I was just love to hear the work you've done, and if you have any advice, Alex.
Yeah, you bet. Well, your points are well taken about the windows through which you can get your work out to folks. Through Drive-Thru, through DM's Guild. The world of self-publishing is amazing. I mean, that's become a very egalitarian place now, where before you had to, beg and plead to get someone to even read what you had penned to be considered for publication. Now you can say, well, heck with it, I'll just go do it myself at very affordable ways. But when it comes to RPG design, geez, we've all veteran players, and we all know what we like. I would encourage anyone who has an interest to sit down and start writing. That's always the thing everyone talks about, and I was one of those. I've been a lawyer for a long time, so I do a lot of writing professionally. I thought, man, I really would like to write a module, write a adventure path, things like that. I said, well, I got to start, just do it. And I did. It started actually. The impetus was with the show, Gamehole Con, and we, as of our position with our most favored nation status with Wizards, if you want to call it that, we were allowed to write modules for our Adventure League hall that were specific to Gamehole Con. And this is in the early days. It's called Con Created Content, CCC. That program has now been expanded, so lots of shows are doing that. But that was my first stab at it. And
with Wizards?
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, that's something in conjunction with Wizards, the CCD, or is that
CCC? Yep, that's
CCC,
Wizards of the Coast.
okay.
That's Adventure. That's Adventure League play.
Oh, okay.
If at the show that you're at now, if they have an Adventure League hall, there's a good chance actually, that there might be some con-created content there that they wrote specifically for their show through this program. You submit it, the AL admins, the Adventure League admins take a look at it, approve it, make sure you haven't done anything too, racy or inappropriate or rule busting or anything like that, and then they give you the thumbs up, and then you can run it at your show. That has been a great opportunity for lots of new authors to get their feet in the water. I've had some people that have contacted us and said, hey, I'd like to write a module. I said, right, well, write one. Send it to me. Let's take a look at it. And we've had a couple people who are now part of our author team because we produce 10 to 12 different modules per show.
wow.
That just are for our play. We have a 100-table Adventure League hall. We have one of the biggest ones, if not the biggest one in the country. So we need a lot of content.
I think maybe that's what I was remembering, that as far as your relationship with Wizards, is that y'all have the largest Adventures League presence. I think maybe that's what I was remembering, because it's pretty big.
Yeah. And so, so anyway, I wrote, and I had the good fortune. This is unbelievable. This is such name dropping, but it's the fact. I co-authored a couple of Adventure League modules with Ed Greenwood. For my first first ones out.
Yeah, if you're gonna name drop, that's a good one.
It was amazing.
That's cool.
He's an amazing guy and a good friend, and he's explosively. And what was the only way I could keep control of the process to sort of keep up is that we had, instead of a modern approach of a cloud document, we had a saved Word document that would email to each other back and forth, because we'd agreed we'd do parts of it, and I would do my part and send it back to him, and I swear, like 45 minutes later, it'd come back with another 1,000 words on it, and it was my turn. Said, my God,
it's like, what?
I can't write that fast.
Wow.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's interesting about Ed is I've had him on the show a couple of times. And coordinating to get on live on a Saturday is interesting because he still holds down a full-time job at a library in Canada.
Yep.
Right.
And with all of his success and with his fame within the D&D and RPG, he still has a full-time job he does. He probably, I think that's fascinating. So,
well, let's everyone send some good thoughts to Ed. I just talked to him this morning. He just had open heart surgery, and he's doing quite well. He's recovered well. He's at home. He's in a lot of pain, but he's doing well. He's great spirits, and he's going to get through it, and he's going to be fine. But send some, prayers of healing and your extra portions of healing up north of the border, and get him better.
Definitely. I wasn't aware of that, so thanks for letting us know. Now, so getting back to some of your modules you've done, it sounds like you've done some stuff for Adventures League with Ed Greenwood, which is amazing. I was on Drive-Thru RPG, and I found some of your stuff. It looked like the Brain Gorgers, let's see here, the Brain Gorgers Appetite, and some other stuff done through Gamehole Publishing. So now, is that different, or is that part of the Adventures League content?
No, that was sort of phase 2. So then once I wrote some, if you go to the DMs Guild and you Google either Gamehole Con or my name, you'll see a bunch of adventures that I've written that are for Adventures League. Well, that's Adventures League they're not rigid rules, but they have rules. They have, this word counts. They want adventures to be run in, 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, and they're designed to give a fairly common play experience to everyone who runs that same adventure, no matter where they're playing it and with whom they're playing it. So that is, I'm not going to say limiting, but it's its own kind of thing.
Right.
I wanted to write more open, like true. I don't mean that in the pejorative. I mean more sort of classic D&D module where it could be very different things to different people. It could be, a very much more sandbox experience as opposed to a very plot focused module. So my first one was Brain Gorger's Appetite. Brain Gorger is a take on the Mind Flayer. The Mind Flayer, of course, is IP. And now that I've stepped out of official Adventure League writing, and now I'm using OGL, the Open Gaming License, there are certain things that you can use and certain things you can't. Wizards retains its intellectual property rights on lots of different things, and the Mind Flayer, or the Illithid, is one of them. So I created a new monster. It's actually worked out because the Brain Gorger, my version, is much more powerful. It's a very dangerous. I mean, the Mind Flayers are bad enough, but this is a really bad character, really bad monster. So I wrote 3 modules. Brain Gorger's Appetite was the first one, and we started our own setting called Eastern Marches. It's just one part of a continent, and we have now, I think, 12 different products in that setting. And Ed Greenwood's written 3.
Wow.
I've written 3, and another one of our actually director of games, Josh Hoyt, I think his 4th one is coming out at Gamehole Con. So we're slowly building this area, and so this is world building, and it's been a lot of fun. Gosh, I've really enjoyed that. And my story arc is 3 modules: Brain Gorger, Into the Deep Dark, which is essentially the Underdark, and then the 3rd module is called Trillium, City of Enchantment, and that was quite a project because I undertook to create a city of 200,000 inhabitants. And then set an adventure in it. And I had no idea what I was getting into when you think about game design with a city that works. Logistics, roads that work, waterways that work. How does the city work? How does it police itself? All that kind of stuff. Like, oh my gosh, this is just spinning into this massive project for a module that's supposed to be level 6 through 9.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had to have I have this beautiful map commissioned by Alyssa Faden, who's a very talented cartographer. So I have this beautiful city map, and I had a lot of fun doing that. So that's a module set that's out there, either through, as you noted, in Drive-Thru, or in Frog God Games has them all on their site. And actually, they have hard copies. They have paper copies. They have them in their warehouse, and a lot of that stuff is through distribution too. I've been picked up by a bunch of game stores, so you can find that stuff in your local game store too, if they happen to, order them for their store. I've been delighted to see them around the country. So it's been, which is, for nerds like us, you walk into a store and you find your book on the shelf, like, man, that's a dream come true.
Yeah,
you made it.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, if you self-publish or whatever and people buy it, that is a validation of a sort.
Sure.
But when you just randomly run into something, like I recently co-authored a book with a friend about computer role-playing games.
Yes, you did.
And if I ever see somebody talking about it that I don't know that person, that's just a different kind of validation. It
Yeah.
feels really
I mean,
good.
that's definitely.
Yeah, it feels really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me ask you this, Alex. I know as a lawyer sometimes you have to use tough love in very tactful ways. So let's disabuse the people that think they're going to write one module and then everybody's going to know their name and they're going to get rich. So what can people expect? And I'm not asking for exact numbers because that's your business. But if you write a module, you get it out there, and let's say it's moderately successful. A few people buy it and enjoy it and leave you good reviews. I mean, are we talking like hundreds of dollars? I mean, I have no idea what people could expect on that.
Yeah. Well, of course, that varies tremendously. But if you write something, I think probably the folks that are producing good quality content up on the DM's Guild, so stuff that is now you're playing in the world of Wizards IP and playing by their rules. There's a huge viewership out there, and there's a lot of consumption. I have friends who have quit their day jobs and are, this is not a lot of money, but you can do it. But this is at the very top of the freelance world. So that is not a common experience. Realistically, if you're going to do this, don't count on making money. Just don't. You can't. This has to be a passion project. First of all, it won't be any good. Yeah. You'll stress yourself out. Just do it because you love it, for the joy of it. And if it happens to work out, hey, happy days. But it's the wrong attitude to come in thinking that you can. This is the experience. I know authors. I've gotten to know Pat Rothfuss pretty well, Peter Brett pretty well, Mike Cole pretty well through the show, and they all say the same thing. Joe Abercrombie is. I've played D&D with him. They all say the same thing, that they wrote their books as they wanted to and they loved it and it worked out, and so great, here they are. But that any other approach, I think, is just the wrong approach.
Right.
So same with the module, with an adventure. Write something that turns you on. Write something that you're passionate about, and then play test it. Really play test it. Get it out to your friends and have them play test it. You should run it yourself. You should have other people run it yourself, and you'll be amazed at when you write something and you think you've got something really clever and you've got some great thing that is going to happen to the players, how they utterly screw that up and make you think, oh my gosh, I have this dead end now. What do I do?
Right.
So play testing could not be more important. My biggest project to date I was hired by Frog God Games to write my first full hardbound, full color book, and that was kickstarted in the spring, and it's coming. It's in the printers now, and it's going to come in November. It's a book called Sea King's Malice, and
I remember that was kickstarting. I think at the last North Texas or some thereabouts. Or
it may have been just wrapping up then, and it was really successful. We went over $100,000, and for adventure is a big number. I mean,
you'll never have to lawyer again. You're rich. That was a joke, by the way.
Yeah,
that was a joke.
Exactly.
By the way. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No,
So let's take that for you. That's a good example. I think that wrapped up like at $110,000. What does it mean for me, the author? Well, you have all the stuff that has to be. First of all, the books have to be printed out of that. You have all the promotional efforts. You have the publisher taking their. I wouldn't expect. I haven't gotten paid for that yet, but I wouldn't expect more than $20,000 out of that. I mean, more like probably 10. And that's an extremely successful book that took a long time for me to write. I mean, I spent over a year. Of course, I'm full time with my job and my other businesses and being a dad and all that kind of stuff. So it's not like I can sit down and write full time. But it took me a year to put that together in a place that was what I was happy with and it play tested sufficiently. And I'm gonna maybe get $10,000. Now, $10,000's not bad. I'm not poo-pooing that. But man, for the hours I put in, that's not good pay.
Yeah,
at all.
If you compare that to an hours for dollars job, the average out on that is you might as well go flip burgers, and I don't mean that as a pejorative.
Well, and that's
I'm just saying it's not
right.
Yeah, it's not a high per hour.
I mean, that's an interesting overall idea to run with when you're thinking about entering into a project like that. And Alex hit on it perfectly, which is how do you define success, and what will that mean to you ultimately when you get to the end of that journey with whatever project you're trying to do, whether it's a module, a board game, or anything else in between, right? What is that? What do you want that answer to be or look like when you're completed? And some people might say the success would be for me is I make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And other people might say, well, it's really just getting something actually made, taking an idea and making it an actuality.
Right.
So that's. Yeah, I mean, I think
you got to say. What are you going to measure success by?
Absolutely.
And I don't know anybody. I've talked to a lot of people in the RPG industry now. None of them have said jump in to make a lot of money.
Right. I mean, it's
just not the. You do it for the love of it.
Sure.
Like I do Shane Plays because it's a passion project, and my favorite thing in Shane Plays. I don't try to make a lot of money off of it or anything like that. My favorite thing in Shane Plays is when I run into somebody who says I listened to your show. And I never would have known about X if you hadn't done a show on it.
Right.
And that is my measure of success right there. That's why I like doing Shane Plays. That's why I have a varied topic show and not just – There's nothing wrong with podcaster shows that camp out on one subject, but there's a whole spectrum of cool, geeky stuff out there. So, all right. Well, I got to move us on because I want to make sure to leave some time for True Dungeon. And I got a news item, and I got to talk with Zach here real quick. But Alex, before I move us on, is there anything else that you wanted to share or mention regarding any of your RPG design products or projects?
Well, I will just say this, that there's no one in this world that's more excited for when Sea King's Malice comes, because this is my first hardbound full color. It's a beautiful book. They've done a wonderful, I told the guys when they wanted to hire me, I said, here's the thing. There has to be more and better full color art than the Wizards releases. It has to be as good or better quality paper and binding, and I have to have control over certain things, which is the cover art and things like that. So I got Elena Danner to do, who's a magic artist that I know well, and to do this beautiful cover. So when that comes, and I hold that in my hands, I will weep with joy. That's my measure of success, because I will have a full color, hardbound D&D book that I think is going to be really fun for people. That'll have my name on the front cover, and that's something I've dreamed of since I was 12.
Right.
So there you go.
Totally
that's my
get
view
that.
of success.
Yeah, that is great. All right. Well, fantastic. Thanks for the input there, folks. In the show notes, I'll link to some of Alex's work on Drive-Thru RPG, DM's Guild, etc. Go check it out. Those are wonderful places to both buy and publish your own work. And I'm going to talk with Zach real quick. We'll do a quick news item. When we come back from the break after that, we're going to be talking with Alex about True Dungeon, which is a incredibly cool True Dungeon experience. The only thing true about it
very true.
is you don't lose hit points.
Right.
That's the only thing that's not true. So, but I've heard really cool things about it. So, Zach, I went ahead. Sal is still having problems. He's still locked himself in the newsroom and won't come out. We're going to have to give him some therapy. But I dug up a news item for Sal. So do you have the news item or the news sound handy by any chance?
I do.
I didn't prep. All right, let's have that. All right, there they go. That news team working hard on a Saturday. Folks, remember, for every $1 of support the show gets by Patreon, the news team gets a penny an hour a raise. What?
A penny.
A penny an hour. What a win-win. It doesn't get any bigger than that.
Man, woo.
So we weren't going to have a news item today, but I saw this last night, and there's no way I couldn't mention this. I've seen it in other news sources, but this is from Kotaku. How do you say that, Richard?
I think it.
Kotaku.
I don't know.
I'm
not even going to try.
It's got a tack and it's got an oo.
Right.
So, and it's Alex. Did you see this? Truck carrying gaming dice spills on the highway, rolls a perfect 756,000. Did you see this?
I did. That link was probably sent to me a dozen times. Yeah, I saw that much.
I didn't see it until last night.
Great.
Yeah. Well, this was in. It says this is the byline on this is Mike Fahey from Kotaku, and it says on Friday, September 13th. What a date.
I know, right?
A truck bound for the Georgia-based tabletop and video game company Trivium Studios took a turn too sharply, spilling 216,000 gaming dice onto Interstate 75 in Atlanta, and what could be the biggest unintentional dice roll ever, and which, I might add, created a dicey driving situation.
Oh, man.
If that was my gaming group, if my gaming group were rolling, or I'm sorry, we're driving that truck,
down there,
when that happened, it would be all ones on those D20s.
Right?
I kid you not.
Well, what it was,
it would be all ones.
What it was actually an intentional roll, and they were probably playing Shadowrun.
There you go.
Because they had, you get buckets.
That's right.
Dun-dun-dun.
That's
so
right.
I'm not down on Shadowrun, but they do.
I love Shadowrun.
I love Shadowrun.
Shadowrun's great.
So, or they may have been playing Warhammer. So, but the Atlanta Highway Emergency Response operators responded and used brooms and shovels to salvage what they could. An interesting thing here is Trivium, the gaming company's representative, they haven't even unveiled the game yet. That the dice are intended for.
I'd be curious to hear what game's delayed. We just wait to see which one's
they'll
delayed.
probably get some free advertising out of this.
Right.
Right. And, at the end of the day, it may be.
It might.
They probably didn't roll craps. Right? No, rolling craps is good, right?
I don't get me lying there either.
It might be a critical win instead of a critical fail for him. So anyway, Alex, did you have any bad puns and or interesting commentary to add to that?
Boy, man, you really hit those out of the park already. I don't think I'm going to add to that. But The fact of what my game group would roll as well is similar to what's already been related. I have a couple guys who, if there is a save or die situation, it is an auto death.
It's
so
die
that would have been all ones too.
Right. Well,
So
they've got, exactly. Well, Trivium's got a good attitude on it. Said, though unfortunate it happened, nobody got hurt. We now own the unofficial world record for the largest dice roll in history. And evidently that 756,000 was based on if you rolled that many dice by average, this is probably what it'd be. So I would like to say if these were on a train and it was a result of a train crash, it might have involved boxcars.
There you go. I'm with it. No, I got you.
Moving right along. So, all right. Hey, Zach, what's going on, man?
Nothing much,
we got to get some. We got to get some Zach banter in, big guy. So here's the deal. We're going due to football. In fact, we barely squeaked Alex in to get part 2 of this in. We're going on as we did last year. We're going on hiatus for a few weeks due to Ouachita Baptist football. We should be we'll have one show on October 26th.
Okay.
But other than that, we'll be off the air till early to mid-November, and it'll really just depend on how well Ouachita Baptist football does in if they go to the playoffs like they have the last couple of years.
Right. That's very true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, what we've done, because as people know, Sal, the head of our news team, it's not Sal, but it's his grandmother and her dog Muffin. They get upset if I don't banter with you every week. So we're about to have, several weeks of no Zach banter. So what I've done is the Mobley Detective Agency has acted as a neutral intermediary, and we're in negotiations with Sal's grandmother and her dog Muffin to give them a bribe. I mean, peace offerings. Not so that there will be no retaliation upon us. So we're offering 24-karat gold knitting needles to Sal's grandmother. Evidently, she knits. And Muffin, we're offering him a 3-month supply of gourmet dog food, and the Blu-ray of All Dogs Go to Heaven. So
that's a pretty good parlay. Yeah,
that's not bad, right? We haven't got anything back. Mobley Detective Agency sent a message, said that negotiations are underway, but hopefully, we'll be okay.
I think so. I agree.
Yeah. Is there anything, since we're going to be off the air for a few weeks, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners, Zach? Or specifically to, would you like to beg or beseech or just say something nice to Sal's grandmother and her dog Muffin?
I'll just say I just enjoy the show. And, like I said, I'm going to miss being with you for these few weeks. But like I said, we'll return. And, I just enjoy the show. I just think it's great.
Yeah, me too. Have you seen anything good lately?
Like I said, I saw over a week ago, I saw It Chapter 2.
Saw It Chapter 2. All right. Yeah. All right. Well, so you're not keeping up with any TV shows or anything right now?
Not right now. I'll wait till Titans is over, Season 2, and then I'll watch it.
Okay, so you're not watching. I haven't seen Titan Season 2 yet. I think I'm going to do the same thing you are, is let it build up episodes. There's somebody, hey, Richard, somebody's walking by in the Joaquin Phoenix Joker.
Oh.
There's some good cosplay here. But you'll see there, he's the Joaquin Phoenix, which I'm hearing amazing things
I want to see
about
it.
the Joaquin
it's on my
Phoenix
list.
Joker movie.
It's on my
I
list.
want to see it for sure, too.
Yep. So, all right. Well, moving on, I'm going to get us to a break, but I wanted to mention it's Collector's Edition, Shane Plays sponsor, Collector's Edition's 37th birthday anniversary. They're having a 25% off sale on back issues and graphic novels starting today. It's also Batman Day at Collector's Edition and the comic book store, one in North Little Rock, one in Little Rock. And then so today through September 28th, they'll have those 25% off sales on back issues of graphic novels. And then next Saturday, the 28th, well, now we will not be on the air, but they're doing a pre-release sale for the Wild Stars 35th anniversary books, 1 through book 4 and the 726-page omnibus with everything of the Wild Stars. And Michael Tierney and Kursova publisher Alex Alexander will be at the North Little Rock location, Collector's Edition, doing signings. So it's exciting, and I may, even though the show's not going to be on the air, I may go over there and do a live YouTube stream or something like that. So anyway, get us to a break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about True Dungeon with Alex Kammer, a.k.a. A-Cam, a.k.a., say it with me.
Renaissance Man.
Renaissance Man.
I think he's a Renaissance Man.
And as titled lovingly by North Texas RPG Con, the Flava Flav.
I like that one
of
too.
5e. The Flava
That's all.
Flav.
That all
Because
works
he
for me.
knows what time it is.
He
got a
knows.
big clock.
He's got it.
I don't know. Anyway, all right, get us to a break, Zach. Are you a fan of thrilling adventure, daring suspense, and just a touch of romance? Cursova has you covered. Since 2016, Cursova has been publishing the very best in contemporary fantasy and science fiction, retro pulp, and for you D&D gamers, Appendix N style fiction. Based in Little Rock, you can pick up their flagship magazine locally or at Michael Tierney's The Comic Book Store on Treasure Hill Road or Collector's Edition on JFK in North Little Rock. Swing by one of Michael's stores and pick up an issue or find them on Amazon. C-I-R-S-O-V-A. Doesn't start with a K, it starts with a C. C-I-R-S-O-V-A, Cursova Magazine. Check them out today. And speaking of Michael Tierney's comic book shops, comic book lovers, head to Michael Tierney's local comic book stores for the newest books on the shelves, plus a fantastic selection of back issues. Visit the comic book store on Treasure Hill Road in Little Rock and Collector's Edition on JFK Boulevard in North Little Rock. And don't forget to click on over to the wildstars.com. Michael Tierney knows comics. In addition to being in business for nearly 4 decades and publishing his own comic book series, The Wild Stars, for almost as long and still going, he has written multiple columns for comics magazines and is an Overstreet Price Guide advisor. Michael is also the author of the wildly successful, high-quality, 4-volume labor of love, the Edgar Rice Burroughs 100-Year Art Chronology. Remember, for all of your comic book needs with friendly service, make sure to visit the comic book store and Treasure Hill Road in Little Rock, Collector's Edition on JFK Boulevard in North Little Rock, and thewildstars.com to learn more. Tell them Shane Plays sent you. And last, but never, ever, ever least, I want to go ahead and throw out some love to Game Goblins. Some goblins are your friends. Game Goblins is Central Arkansas's premier retailer of Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40k, board games, card games, RPGs, miniatures, and hobby accessories. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. That's 501-224-GAME or gamegoblins.com. Conveniently located 1121 South Bowman, right on the corner of Bowman and Canis in West Little Rock, and staffed by friendly employees, Game Goblins has expanded their store size, and there's plenty of room for exciting inventory and tables for play space. You'll like that space because Game Goblins has gaming events every day of the week. For all of your gaming needs, I heartily recommend Game Goblins. Make sure to check out their customer loyalty program that rewards you based on your actual purchases. Game Goblins earns your business and keeps it. First-time customers, mention Shane Plays and receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. Tell them Shane Plays sent you. And folks, if you do visit any of my sponsors, please tell them that you hear about them on the show. That helps them know that their advertising money and the relationship we've built is time and money well spent.
Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.
Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into the things we love. We are broadcasting live from SpaCon in Hot Springs, Arkansas on September 21st. So if you're listening live today and tomorrow, get on up here to Hot Springs. A lot of great vendors, a lot of great games, a lot of great cosplay. See, I could probably spend half the show just talking about some of the good cosplay that's here.
It's really good.
You know, and I forgot to mention to Zach during the banter session, but Richard, the Cybertronic Spree last night was pretty sweet.
Oh, wow. What a great show.
Yeah, if you guys ever get a chance to see them, they dress up in excellent costumes of G1 Transformers. You got like Hot Rod and RC, and
Unicron,
and Quintesson, Rumble,
yep,
all that, and they're a real tight stage band, and they do covers from the Transformers animated movie. They did like Immigrant Song. They do
a little Zeppelin, a little Guns N' Roses thrown in there. It's really crazy.
It was a good show, and they did Dare to Be Stupid, of course.
Dare to Be Stupid, which is
and the encore they did Ghostbusters by Ray Parker Jr. So, but they're real tight musically. They're not just
it's not. No, they know how to play.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. They're here. Want to throw out some notes here, quick show notes. if you want, if you're listening to the podcast version of the show or on Krypton Radio or on YouTube, you can go to shaneplays.com. That's ShanePlays.com and get show notes and links for today's show. Alex actually has sent me a link that I'll put on there. Is a great place to find all of his RPG design products. Last week's show is archived on the blog, and that was episode 200, Solasta, Crown of the Magister, which is a CRPG that is adapting the 5e rule set. It's not D&D IP, but it's the 5e rule set using the SRD 5.1. And of course, we do go out as a podcast on the blog, at shaneplays.com, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Podbean, SoundCloud, YouTube, and more. And last, but never, ever, ever least, Shane Plays is carried on Krypton Radio. Krypton Radio is sci-fi for your Wi-Fi, KryptonRadio.com. So we got about 10 minutes, and I want to turn this over as much as I can to Alex to tell us about True Dungeon, which is, I guess it's at Gen Con, and it's also at Gamehole Con, which is the con that Alex founded and helps run and keeps growing because he's obsessed about details, which is a good thing, and great customer service, as we talked about last show. So, and evidently the experience at Gamehole Con, which will be this year, October 31st through November 2nd, I think, something along those lines, is actually an even larger True Dungeon experience.
Right.
All I know about True Dungeon is it's supposed to be extremely cool, and it's like really being in a dungeon in D&D. Richard, tell me your perception.
My understanding of True Dungeon.
When you've seen it from afar at Gen Con.
Well, not afar. I've walked right by the entrance to it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, several times.
Yeah. Did a gibbering mouther?
No, there wasn't anything that kind of
nothing?
poked out of the entrance to True Dungeon there. But it's my understanding is you have the ability to gain coins basically that allow you to do different things as you go through the dungeon itself.
Yeah.
And it's a fully immersive experience to my understanding. I've always wanted to attend. For years I went, as you know, with the Troll Lord Games guys working with them every year. So I didn't have opportunities to do that, but
because you're working the booth.
I'm a working man,
So working the booth. And I hear that there's all kinds of amazing screams and yells and utterances, and that's just the people in the dungeon. The people acting in the dungeon do a great job too. So anyway, so Alex, I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell us about True Dungeon, my friend.
Well, first of all, I want to offer my condolences with Steve Chenault and Tim Burns and Tyler Morrison and all those knuckleheads. My God, good for you. That's tough duty.
It is.
Those I kid because I care. Those are all very good friends of mine.
Yeah,
and they
great guys.
actually have printed a lot of my material, my modules in the past. The Troll Lord has, so they're great
guys. They also just had an extremely successful Kickstarter with the Lost City of Gaxmore.
They always do.
With Gygax, Luke, and Ernest. Or Luke and Ernie Gygax. Yeah.
Yep.
They raised a lot of money.
I'm one of the stretch goals. I've got to actually.
I was going to say, you and Joe and
Oh, fantastic!
Right.
All right. Yeah, we love Steve and all those guys. Yeah. So we've got a close relationship with them. With Shane Plays. So with knowing that they are one of the shambling corpses that you might find in True Dungeon, what else might we find in True Dungeon?
Well, you mentioned as you walk past the True Dungeon and the aperture into the hall, you'll hear haunting music. You'll see it's dimly lit. It is really going into a different world. And what happens is when you have a True Dungeon ticket, you first of all go into a training area. And in that training area, you sit down with your group of co-adventurers. To 10. That's what the adventure is designed for. And it is a 2-hour experience with 12 different rooms. And what you do is you go through, they're basically, in a real sort of 10,000-foot way to describe it, they're basically fantasy D&D themed escape rooms in series that are all connected. But first of all, you go into a training room. Our trainers, and we have these great folks who help us out to teach you all how to play. And you start by picking a character class, and you could pick one of 12, and these are based on D&D classes. Now this whole system was my partner Jeff Martin, who is the primary owner and designer of True Dungeon. He's from Carbondale, Illinois, and started this kind of on a lark. And Peter Atkinson, the owner of Gen Con, thought it was so cool that he gave him some more money to fund it. And that's why I was at Gen Con for years and continues to be. But anyway, what you do is you start and you're given some initial, and you mentioned coins. They're actually called tokens. They're big. They're like elaborate poker chips that have different things on them. They're magic items. And they can be one-use magic items like a potion or a scroll. They can be a set of armor. They can be a set of, they could be anything. They could be a sword. I'm just gonna look at some of the ones that we have for 2019. Here's the first one I pulled up: Hat of Hate, +3 to will saves versus charm. That's a token. That's an item that you carry. Figurine of Power, Snail, reroll reflex save. Anyway, so on. So there are hundreds of the. Every year we come out with new ones. So there are two different kinds of. So once you pick a character class, you have to figure out how to play that character class. And so the fighter types is sort of true with D&D, are easier to play than the magic cast. So the magic characters, for example, a druid, when you want to cast a spell, you have to succeed on a memory test, and that is you start off by memorizing groups of leaves and what they mean. And once if you successfully in dungeon remember what those leaves are, you have passed the skill test and you can cast your spell, whatever that might be. For wizards, it's a diagram of the plane of existence, and that's what you memorize. A cleric, it's a group of prayer beads. So anyway, it's that's how the play actually works. And for fighter classes, when you want to fight like a shambling mound, which an NPC will be unbelievably dressed, come out, and you have to fight the shambling mound. You're not doing it like in a LARP with foam swords or anything like that. You do so on a shuffleboard with a outline of the creature, and you drop your token. Let's say you have a +2 longsword into a larger puck, and you slide it up this board trying to hit critical areas of the shambling mound, to use that example, and then it attacks you back, and that's how combat is resolved. It's no dice rolling. It's all done through token play.
Well, let me tell you something else I like about that is there might be people worried that there's actual touching, like somebody's going to hit me with a sword or I'm going to hit them with a sword. So neither the NPCs or the players have to worry about any of that getting out of control.
Right.
True.
So that's good. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, and the NPCs. I mean, these people are brilliant. They first of all, they're just such selfless volunteers, and they're in costume for hours and days during a show, and they do such a good job. It's such an amazing experience. The quality of the NPCs that you'll run to, and so there are two basic kind of rooms: combat rooms where you fight monsters, and puzzle rooms. And Jeff does a wonderful job designing these really intricate puzzles that are very difficult, very challenging, and everyone has to work together to try to solve them. For example, the rogue. The rogue can attempt a skill test, which is basically a lockpick. But picture, the game Operation. It's like that.
Yes.
You have to trace a pattern with a lockpick without touching the sides, and if you can do so successfully, you get a clue to how to puzzle. And so on. And every character class has a vehicle, a mechanism in that room. If they pass their skill test, they can make puzzle easier to solve. And these are very elaborate interactive puzzles. Sometimes it can be moving blocks of things around. It can be turning gears of an apparatus. It can be, running a chain through certain holes and or spindles or so on to make a certain pattern. All kinds of stuff. It's crazy. So it's very interactive that way. And so that's how it goes. There are two different kind of style of rooms. They're all controlled lighting, controlled sound, animatronics, very elaborate, expensive animatronic things. Jeff works very closely with the haunt industry and is down in Disney all the time getting the latest and greatest what they have. So there's so let's put it this way. When we go to Gen Con, there are 6 52-foot semis that pull up to unload our stuff for True Dungeon.
That's a production, man.
That's a full-on.
Crazy.
That's like Broadway style.
And that's okay. So
It is.
and the only two places to enjoy this or experience this is Gen Con and Gamehole Con. Is that correct?
Well, that used to be the case. It was only Gen Con, and then years ago, it was actually 2015 when I met Jeff. I coaxed him up to Gamehole Con, and I said, just check out our show because I know he's a great guy.
Right,
and he loves D&D.
We got 1
he's
minute
first
left,
edition.
Alex. Just letting you know, we got 1 minute.
Okay, he loves first edition D&D, and so I asked him to come up to check out our show. He liked it, and I said, "Hey, can you come to Gamehole Con?" And he said, "I'll think about it." And he said, "Alex, we'd love to have you come on as an owner to help us take us to other shows because I'm a lawyer. I can negotiate these things out." So the long and short of it is now, Gamehole Con coming up next, DreamHack Atlanta, middle of November, PAX San Antonio, that's I think in February or late January. We go to Origins, we go to Gen Con, and then PAX West, which just happened over Labor Day weekend. Right. So we have expanded to different parts of the country so fans can see us all over the place.
I got to end this. Hey, so here's the thing. There's several places to do this. Go check out truedungeon.com to learn more. It sounds amazing. I would love to do it sometime. Alex, we got to draw to a close, but thanks so much for your time, and I hope you have a fantastic Gamehole Con.